Hi guys, good afternoon. My name is Rene Lowell Siminiano Mesa, Bisat 2A. I'm Group 7. So the title of my topic is Moral Virtues Theory, Philosophers Respective. Moral Theories, Utilitarianism, Kantianism, Virtues Theory, the four-principle approach, and casuistry. What is an example of moral virtue? This is an example of moral virtue: honesty, courage, compassion, generosity, fidelity, integrity, fairness, self-control, and prudence are all these examples of virtues. Moreover, a person who has developed virtues will be naturally disposed to act in the ways that are consistent with moral principles. Virtue ethics is a broad term for theories that emphasize the role of character and virtues in a moral philosophy, rather than either doing one's duty or acting in order to bring out good consequences. A virtue ethics is likely to give you this kind of moral advice. Act as a virtuous person would act in your situation. Virtue ethics. Most virtue ethics theories take their inspiration from Aristotle. Why? Because he declared that a virtuous person is someone who has ideal character traits. These traits derive from the natural internal tendencies, but need to be nurtured. However, once established, they will become stable. Utilitarianism. Normative ethics. Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill, English philosopher and economist. According to them, which an action or type of action is right, it tends to promote happiness or pleasure, and wrong if it tends to produce unhappiness or pain. Not just for the performer of the action, but also for everyone else affected it. According to Socrates, virtue knowledge because all living things aim for. The action should be evaluated on the basis of their consequences. So, oppose egoism, which person should pursue his own or herself interest given at the expenses of the others. So, this is the utilitarianism. Number 2, Kantianism. Kant's moral philosophy is deontological normative theory, which is to say, he rejected the utilitarian idea that the rightness of an action is a function of how fruitful its outcome is. He says that the motive or means and not consequence or end of an action determines its moral value. For Kantians, there are two questions that we must ask ourselves. Whenever we decided to act, can I rationally will that everyone act as I propose to act? If the answer is no, then we must not perform the action. Does my action respect the goal of human being rather than merely using them to my own purposes? Again, if the answer is no, then we must not perform the action. Kant believed these questions were equivalent. Kantianism, motive, philosophy of Immanuel Kant. He rejected the utilitarianism idea. Para sa kanya, motive or means and not consequences or end of the action determines its moral value. Sabi nga ng mga commentators ni Immanuel Kant na naniniwala sa kanyang idea, at ang ideyang ito ay tinawag na transcendental idealism. There are four principal approach. Beauchamp, Childress, extremely influential in the field of medical ethics. To understand the approach to ethical assessment in healthcare. They define moral virtue as an character traits that is socially valuable and reliably present, and moral virtue such as traits that is also both dispositional and morally valuable. So the four principle is autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, and justice. Prima facie, a term introduced by an English philosopher W.D. Ross, means that the principle is binding unless it's conflict with another moral principle. If it does, we have to choose between them. Number 4. Casuistry is the use of moral belief in decision of right and wrong in order to reach or rationally a solution. An example of casuistry is a Buddhist believing that something bad is happening to him because the universe balancing is karmic debt. Who is philosopher used casuistry? Greek-Roman philosophers, Christian preachers and teachers, Islamic jurists. Why they use casuistry to solve real-life moral puzzle? One of the philosopher, Cicero, wrote case book on situations in which duties seems to conflict. So that is my topic, guys, and I have a question. There is a question roaming around in my mind. So this is the question: why do we need to understand or study philosopher perspective? So my idea of this question is it helps us to solve problem and to make better decision by developing our critical thinking. So that is it, guys. Thank you. Good afternoon.